you do have a name, that name is correct. If not, if you give me your full name and who you're representing here today, whether you're the applicant, the owner, part of that team, someone else from the surrounding neighborhood or the community, or anyone else connected to the project. So I'll just go off the orientation of my screen here. It looks like Annette D. Tommaso.
Yeah, perfect. I'm the executive director of the Blue Line Foundation.
Okay, great. Welcome. See that we have two individuals from Terex Development and Construction.
Yep, I'm Josh Urey. I'm the senior project manager for Terex on this project, and this is Peter Horton. He's one of our principals.
Okay, so Josh and Peter, could you each spell your last names for me?
Yeah, my last name is Urey. That's spelled Y-E-A-R-Y.
And Horton is H-O-R-T-O-N.
Okay, great. Welcome. We have Mitch Getz here.
Yep, Mitch Getz with the Kleinder's Group. We're the civil engineers.
All right, welcome. Dave Lenenberg.
Here I'm the landowner next to it and in favor of the project.
Okay, great. Welcome. Craig Honkamp.
Yep, thank you. I am with the Kleinder's Group also, and civil engineers, surveyors, landscape architects, representing on behalf of Blue Line Foundation.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Zach Herbst.
Yep. Zach Herbst with MSA Design, project architect, also here supporting Blue Line Foundation.
All right. I see we have Wes Munzel from the planning department here at the city. Welcome, Wes.
Good afternoon.
And then I have someone under the name Nestor.
Yes, hi. Sorry, I was having a problem with Zoom. Nestor Melnick. I'm principal in charge with MSA, supporting Blue Line Foundation here.
Very great. You said Nestor Helm.
Melnick, M-E-L-N-Y-K.
Okay, welcome. All right, and then Annalise Cahill.
Yeah, I'm Annalise. I'm with DSD Advisors. We do government relations consulting for the Blue Line Foundation and have done some capital advocacy for the project.
Okay, great. Welcome. Are we expecting anyone else to join us on the applicant owner side, or anyone else in support of the project that we need to wait for before we get started?
Not that I'm aware of, unless Annette, you're aware of anybody else on your end joining.
No, it should just be me.
Okay, good. Yep, we're all here.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. Let's just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll begin. So this is the March 5th, 2025 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the city. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. The case before us is case number ZH20250007. That's 2060 Radcliff Drive. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules of the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here today, I'll allow anyone that's associated with this project, either as an architect, a member of the Blue Line Foundation, an engineer, or any other party that's worked on this, to present at that time. You all can orient that presentation however you like. One of you can speak, all of you can speak. I'll really leave it up to you how you want to present this project to me and get the information across. Typically, I know a few of you have been through this process before, but background on the project you think is important, what exactly the project is and the scope of the project, the relief that you need to complete the project, or the zoning relief you need to complete the project, and of course, why you believe that relief is appropriate and why it should be approved in this case. After the applicant has been given an opportunity to present its case, anyone from the public, I know we have one neighboring property owner here, Mr. Lenenberg, I'll give you an opportunity to provide any testimony after the applicant has presented its case. I'll then move to the planning department and Mr. Munzel to provide any testimony in addition to a staff report if you would like. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition, and then finally make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay. Last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So I'm going to collectively swear all of those people in now, again, that intend on testifying. So if you could take yourself off of mute, if that's you, if you could also raise your right hand and answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Okay, great. All right, who's going to be taking the lead here on the presentation?
I will be.
Okay, Mr. Moncamp, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, David. We appreciate your time today and the time of Wes to review our application and guide us through to this point in the process and put together the staff report and everything. I think everything was very thorough in there. Before we kind of go into a little bit more of the meat of the requests we're making, I'm going to turn it over to Annette for a moment just to speak a little bit about the Blue Line Foundation, its history, background, mission, and then why this project is important to them and how it helps their organization move forward.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. So David, I apologize if this is redundant for you, but I think it's important to talk about Blue Line and what we're trying to achieve with this particular project, with this health and wellness building. So Blue Line Foundation was actually established in 2017. And around that time, we went through several iterations of what our mission is today. Obviously, it's our goal to meet the needs of law enforcement. So for 2017 to where we are now was a very big progressive jump. And our 3 top priorities that we have established and will be so ongoing are the health and wellness of our officers and law enforcement in the region. So not just City of Cincinnati, but those law enforcement officers who they work for the county, they work in the city, but they happen to live elsewhere, as well as their families. So when you look at the blueprint, you'll see a health and wellness training facility. You'll also see a fitness building. And that is our way of kind of meeting their mental health needs, having a suite of offices just for that purpose, and then meeting the physical needs and having a physical fitness facility as well. Our second focus is advanced training. We want all law enforcement departments and agencies to essentially get on the same level. So the experience that you have in Hyde Park should be the same experience you have with law enforcement in Northern Kentucky. And then the third, and arguably to Chief EG, meaningful community engagement. And I think meaningful is that critical word there. So doing more than exposing our communities to police officers maybe once a year at a backpack drive, right? So we're putting and creating and working with other nonprofits to host meaningful opportunities between children, their guardians, their parents, and law enforcement multiple times a year at a central convening space. So I think the most important thing about this particular project, and I'm so thankful for everybody that's working with us on this, because we have this unifying idea in mind that this is a convening place. So this is a convening place and a meaningful place to make connections between our law enforcement and their families, healthcare professionals, between law enforcement specialists and the communities that they serve, which is, many different areas, but primarily that South Fairmont, Price Hill area, having a presence there as well. So, through this building of our headquarters and the wellness and training facilities, we're able to host and create all those connections. So that's why we feel so strongly about this project and why we've worked so hard to get it just right. And I think this is an incredible team. So I want to flip it back over to Craig, but David, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Sure. Okay. I don't have any questions right now. I appreciate
Sure.
that background on the foundation.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Annette. And so I will go ahead then and share screen and try to be, I won't go into too much detail. I know you have a really good staff report and it doesn't seem like we have any, opposition from the community here. So I'm not going to try to belabor points that don't need to be discussed or whatever too long. And so then, David, if I do go through something too quickly or anything like that, or something that you want a little bit more information on, yeah, just feel free to stop me and ask questions, kind of like I know you said you would. So
I think I'm gonna do that before you even get started, because
okay,
I recognize this this property and the Blue Line Foundation from a couple prior applications. So I'm sure you were planning on mentioning this, but as you go through, if you could try to highlight where this is different, if at
okay,
all, and
yeah,
how that relief is different than relief that I've approved in the past.
yeah,
That would be helpful, but otherwise,
okay.
please feel free to share screen and move forward.
Yeah, so I believe, and Wes, it's been a little bit since I looked through the previous application because we were not the submitters on the previous application, but I believe they did have the conditional use component also because of the ballroom aspect and facility. So I think that is the same. They still had the two structures, and so the variance for the front yard component was the same. And then the hillside district, while our layout is similar, there's some slight differences that I'll make sure to point out as we're going through or whatever there. But I think as far as the variance, the locational variance for the accessory structure in the front yard, I believe the previous application had that and was also as a part. And then the conditional use, I believe, was also the same. And those would basically be, yeah, exactly the same then.
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
only to the extent you're aware of
Right.
specific differences. I know
Yep.
that Wes mentioned some things in the staff report, so he can touch on that as well.
Yeah.
Wes, a heads
Okay.
up, I'll ask you the same question.
Great. So
Okay.
I will go ahead and share screen then again. Yes, I will run through kind of the drawings that we presented. I think that'll be our best way to kind of highlight some of the talking points here. And I know, yeah, Wes put some of those in this, some of these images in the staff report. So just an overall image of the building on the title page is the main reason we included this page, just so you could kind of see that graphic in the lower left corner of basically the aesthetic of the building. And we do have elevation views coming up though also. So a topographic survey, we did do a new topographic survey, did not reuse anything from the previous submittals or whatever. So this is all on our benchmark system and everything like that then. And generally the site is higher on the left end, which is the south end of the site, then closer to where the call center is and the other buildings up there. And you'll notice kind of the irregular shape of this. And in the geotech report that was submitted, you may have seen, and I'm not sure, I don't think Wes necessarily, I'm not sure whether, maybe he did point it out in the staff report, that, yeah, this site was used, this whole kind of general area was used as a borrow area for when they constructed Union Terminal in the Cincinnati Museum Center in the 1930s. And then there was just a lot of subsequent excavation and removal of the rock material, and then kind of fill was placed back in some of those excavation areas. And then over, the decades since then, this site has kind of been just moved around, the soil moved around, borrow material and fill material placed. And so in the geotechnical report, you see lots and lots of fill the areas through here. And so in some of these, like on this left end, it's just kind of like a random mound of fill that was placed there. This kind of ridge that protrudes out then is also fill that was placed out there on the top of this, hill. And then just outside of the survey limits within our property, but outside of the survey limits, the topo limits, is the really steep slope, the much steeper slope then that starts to go down to the lowering neighbors down below. And we didn't even survey that, try to, that kind of 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 hillside there, just because we knew we weren't going to be disturbing it. We were not getting into it or anything like that. It was not part of the, disturbed footprint. But yeah, so that kind of gives you a general, I guess, yeah, I said the south end is the higher, the left side of this page. And then I'm going to point out real quick before I flip to the next sheet, this right side here then is where the Cincinnati Museum Center owns the property, and that building is just here clipped off of the corner edge. And then they do have that cross-sharing exhibit, which I think the previous application came through and went through two hearings with you, I believe. One was for the main body of work up here at the top of the hill. And then the second one was regarding the stormwater management and detention that was down here in this area. So we've combined all that into one application then instead of the two applications that previously came across. And so the hillside relief then is for both of these areas, and then the main development area plus the stormwater management area that's encumbered in an easement with our neighbors there. And then the second page is basically just a clearing demolition page. It shows, just mainly it's tree removal is all that's going on up there. You'll notice the line that goes through here to the tower. That's the cable that supports the television tower antenna that's up there, and that crosses our site, and it also has an easement reserved on it that we're working to make sure we accommodate and not impact. And then here you can see the site arrangement then, and the building is here on the left side. And when I flip to the grading plan, you'll get to see this with the topography on the main building. And this is the one with the ballroom in it that is applicable to the conditional use then in this building here on the left, on the south end of the site. And then similar to the previous layout that came through was the parking lot. And you'll see on the grading that I feel like we're impacting this slightly less in both cases. This hillside, we're not pushed quite as far into that hill as the previous one, and I'll explain that when we get to grading. And then the building here is the building that requires the variance because technically it is in the front yard. And I think as Wes pointed out in the staff report, this used to be several lots through here, and it could potentially be split in the future or something like that, although that is no intention from what the blue line would do. But this would be the fitness center building then associated with an outdoor turf area for outdoor calisthenics or other kind of exercise regimen that the officers would go through or law enforcement would go through. So that's the general program. Utilities I'll skip over pretty quickly, just has the normal typical water, sanitary taps and services going to the different buildings that have been coordinated with Waterworks and MSD. And then I guess what is relevant though on this page to the Hillside District is that we are collecting all of our water from the rooftops, all the water from our impervious areas of the parking lot, and we're keeping that. We're not dumping anything over the hillside. Nothing is going to be running off down the steep hill around our perimeter. So all that stormwater is collected, put into the stormwater management basin, then held back per MSD and SMU standards, and then discharged to the storm sewer that's in the street here in Radcliff. So nothing will be directed over the hillside from our impervious areas. And then here you can see the grading, and this is where I'll just show for a minute. Then I think the previous applications were kind of encroaching a little bit further over this hill than what we are. And again, this is kind of that artificial knob. I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit, but this mound here with all the contour lines is really an artificial, where somebody has just dumped and placed fill and kind of mounded it up there, decades ago. And there was, rather large trees even growing on it, and had been there that long, but it was not really part of the natural native hillside though. So we are, shaving this kind of artificial hill off of the top here then, and then not really touching, where the native natural hill is beyond it, then we're not really touching that at all. And then the similar over here on this area, and again, where we topoed is more mild slopes. The real steep drop off is much further into this wooded area than where the edge of our survey limits were. But I think the previous submittal application actually had a retaining wall running along the edge of this parking lot through here. We've been able to, by reconfiguring the parking lot slightly and tightening things up and working on the grading, we're not doing a retaining wall there or anything like that. So I think that is all beneficial to the hillside district and to the impacts that this property is having on the land and in this area. And then basically then, yeah, as I said, we're cutting where that building is on the left. There you can kind of see there's this knob protruding out here again of that fill, and we're kind of removing just slightly a little bit of that knob. So then the soil from those two areas that we're cutting off is kind of getting filled and placed in the other area of the parking lot. And then lastly, the excavation for the stormwater management basin, then those soils that are coming out of there will also kind of be placed up in this area where the field and the future building will be going, then in essence trying to really balance the site and not have large amounts of import or export of soil here though. And I think these perimeter points around are pretty similar to what the previous approval showed. And so this was just the landscape plan, and this is conforming with the city landscape, city code there. So I don't think there's anything to really add. It meets code, is what we're doing through there.
I'm sorry if I missed this, but it looks like, as I just look at the satellite views, that there's a decent amount of vegetation and trees along the hillside. Do you have a sense of how much of that is going to need to be removed for this project, and
Yeah,
if that will impact hillside stability?
That's a good point. So I will let me go back to the grading sheet here. And then I'll also go to the aerial image here, because I guess this doesn't show it too well. And I'll go to the demolition plan, but the thick dashed line here is our clearing limits. Then the dashed line kind of around the perimeter is our clearing limits. And then when we go back to the demolition sheet, yeah, you can see then these areas through here. And a lot of this was, well, some of this in this area was a lot of honeysuckle and scrub and stuff. But then up through here, yeah, although this had been disturbed in the 30s or 40s or something like that, a lot of these trees had grown up then to be larger individual trees through here. But those trees will be cleared then to allow the grading to happen in the parking lot and the field and everything like that. So, but then we're not really clearing on the steeper parts. I guess we didn't have the topography overlaid on this. Let me go back. I think the survey had it, and like I said, the steeper part of the hill is where we didn't even survey, kind of the white area, and we're not really touching that. And I'm going to flip to, I know you had the aerial image in here, and I think this is a little bit helpful to see then. And you can kind of see this white banding along through here. That's really where the steeper part of the hillside begins. And this area where the vegetation is mainly is not as steep. And it's just because, you can recognize on a very steep slope, there's not a lot of vegetation that grows, and that's you get maybe cedar trees and stuff. And so we're not disturbing that. But this top area, that one mound is here, that'll be cleared. And then these areas here where the field and the parking lot will be cleared out also. But then nothing beyond our disturbed limits will be cleared. Is that,
Okay,
yeah,
thanks.
okay. Let me go back to my other screen here. I think I need, that's not the right one. There it is. Okay. And so now on the building floor plan and I think Nestor and Zach, I know you guys are on, but I will hit this really quick and then you can kind of chime in if needed or as necessary. But as Annette had said, those training uses are down on the first floor, the support offices and everything around the perimeter there. And then to your point, David, the part that's triggering the conditional use is this ballroom level up on the next level up. This ballroom space then is what's triggering that conditional use. And then we have the, let me see, I'm not sure what, yeah, there's the elevations I thought we were getting to. Then we have the elevation views coming up on this page, which basically reflects what was shown in that, image on the cover page. And I know height, we don't have a height issue or variance or anything like that. So, and here's the fitness building then that's over by the practice field. And then the geotech report. So I guess Nestor or Zach, do you guys want to comment maybe a little bit more or anything on the floor plans then, and I can flip through them if you'd like me to.
Zach, do you want to go? I mean, I think you covered it pretty well there in general, Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, David, is there any additional information you want to hear? I think Craig covered it fairly well, as Nestor said. You're muted, David.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I don't have any additional questions about the slides we're seeing now. I mean,
Okay.
so this is mostly related to the conditional use approval for the accessory
Correct.
event space, right?
Yep, correct, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. No, nothing right now.
Okay. Yep. And so I think the other information then that was in our submittal, is a lot of the supporting documentation with the geotechnical report, our community engagement that was performed along the way on this project, the letters of support that we have. Yeah, so I don't know that we need to go into those. Those are very similar to last time. The geotech report is a new geotech report, but it's kind of a lot of paragraphs. So I think, David, with that, I think that wraps up my presentation then of, everything that we have submitted here, basically. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Honkamp. Appreciate that thorough presentation. Did anyone else from the applicant team want to say anything else before I move to the planning department? Okay, hearing nothing, and I think I just misspoke. I think I'm gonna go to the public now. Mr. Lindenberg, did you want to add anything to the conversation here?
No, I mean, I'm a trustee in Green Township. Whenever we have zoning issues, we always ask if there's a neighbor present, and there never is one. So I thought I'd join today to be that neighbor present and say I've been talking about this project with Steve Saunders for seems like 10 years. So we're thrilled that it's happening. It's the perfect neighbor for us, and we're excited to see it built.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your time and your testimony here today. Let's move over to Wes. Wes, what would you like to add here?
Hi, I won't really get into any details of the staff report as outlined by Mr. Hockamp, but I will just highlight that this version of the project compared to the what year was that? 2022 version, does have a smaller parking lot. It doesn't quite get as close to the edge of the hill. Has a smaller field, the athletic field area. Again, not quite as expansive. The building footprint itself is smaller in that it's like an L shape instead of a rectangle shape. So there's a smaller footprint slightly than last time. And then the height of the building is also not as tall as the other version. So, and I will also make another comment about the report, that the grading plans seem to be somewhat less, like there's less like direct cut, like the amount of any direct cut or fill at any one location in this plan is less than 10 feet, and somehow they were able to make the topography less like impactful. So I think that's a testament to their redesign of the site slightly. So
Okay, so Wes,
Thanks.
is it your testimony or your analysis here that this has less of an impact on the hillside?
yeah,
overall?
then the last one, yep, yes.
Is the actual cumulative excavation and fill, is the number smaller than the last one? Do you know offhand?
It's about the same overall, because that's the way we measure that. But and again, as was mentioned, there's like artificially created towers of dirt or whatever at the top, and so but the overall difference in topography is the same, but the way they did it, it's less cut and fill like in any one spot.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Wes?
That's it.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time and testimony here today. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the applicants on this. Anything you want to say in response to Wes's comments or Mr. Lenenberg's or any of my questions?
Nope, I don't have anything else to add. Thank you.
Okay. Anything any closing statements or remarks?
We just appreciate your guys' time and help as we go through this process, and yeah, looking forward to seeing your conclusion here in a couple of weeks.
Okay, great. All right, well, let's leave it at that. I am a bit more familiar with this site in this area based on what we've talked about and this, a different version of this project coming through in the past. I am inclined to approve this based on the testimony here today and the application materials and the staff report and the fact that I have approved a similar development before. I'd like to just, before I formalize that, I'd like to take a little bit more time with all the information and just review a little bit more. But like I said, I anticipate that this will be an approval. Once I've officially made that determination, I need to put that into a written decision that will serve as the official approval. As soon as I finish that, I'll put it into a PDF and I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. Once you have that, Wes can approve the permitting on his end and you all can take the next steps. Any questions about that or anything else?
No, that process sounds good to us. We appreciate it.
All right. Well, if you have any questions in the meantime or like a status update on the decision, please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said at the beginning, that typically takes about 2 weeks. I'll do everything I can to get it to you as quickly as possible. Otherwise, hope you all have a wonderful day.